Have you ever wondered why it feels like we're always playing catch up with cybersecurity? Just patching holes in a leaky dam? Well, today, we're going to talk about threat modeling. It's a way to, build the dam right in the first place, making security part of the original blueprint.
I mean, seriously, it seems like every single day you turn on the news, another huge company has been hacked, losing millions of customer records. It's just this constant, frustrating cycle. But why? Why is this happening so often? What are we missing here? It really boils down to this one simple but deeply flawed idea that you can build something first and then kind of just bolt the security on later. Imagine building a brand new bank vault, finishing all the construction, and only then realizing you completely forgot to install a lock on the door. You're just left patching holes, always playing defense. This really highlights two completely different ways of thinking. The old way, the reactive way, is just constant firefighting. You're always one step behind the attackers. But the smart way, the proactive way, is all about designing security in from the very, very beginning. It's the difference between just putting out fires and actually fireproofing the building. So this brings us to a really fundamental shift in how we think about building things. What if you could find and fix potential security flaws before you've even written a single line of code? What if security was just a normal part of the design process, like deciding how many bedrooms a house should have?
And that is exactly what threat modeling is. It's not just some vague, good idea. It's a structured, systematic process. And those two words are key: systematic and design phase. That's what turns security from a hopeful accident into a real engineering discipline.
Think about it this way, right? Instead of waiting for a burglar to break in and then deciding to install an alarm system, you're sitting down with the architect from day one. You're looking at the blueprints together to identify weak points from the start. You're designing out the unlocked windows and the hidden back doors before a single brick is ever laid. Okay, so if it's not just guesswork, how does this actually work in the real world? Well, professionals don't just sit in a room and try to imagine what could go wrong. No, they use established frameworks to systematically think like an attacker would. One of the most common and powerful frameworks is called STRIDE. Now, I know it might sound like some kind of technical jargon, but it's really just a detective's checklist. It gives you 6 specific categories of threats to look for, making sure you don't miss anything obvious. So STRIDE gives you these 6 different lenses to look through. For spoofing, you ask, could an attacker pretend to be a legitimate user? Think of a phishing email. For tampering, you ask, could someone maliciously change our data? Like altering a bank transaction. Each letter forces you to ask a different but absolutely crucial question about your design. Okay, great. So your team used STRIDE, you did the work, and now you have a list of, let's say, 50 potential threats. You obviously can't fix them all at once. So, what now? How in the world do you prioritize? Well, that's where another framework like DREAD comes in. Its real power is turning that messy list of worries into a clear, prioritized action plan. Instead of people just arguing about what feels the most dangerous, you use a scoring system to objectively rank each threat. You ask, how bad is the damage? How easy is it to pull off? This gives you a data-driven roadmap for what to fix first, second, and third. But here's the thing. This process absolutely cannot happen in a silo. You can't just throw it over the wall to the security people and call it a day. For threat modeling to really, truly work, it has to be a collaborative effort. It has to be a team sport. And you might be surprised by who actually needs to be in the room. Of course, you've got your developers who are on the front lines, and the security team with all their expertise. But you also need the IT and operations folks who know the real-world infrastructure. And, critically, you need business leaders in there to answer the most important question of all. What are we actually trying to protect here, and why? And since everyone has such a different role to play, the training can't be one size fits all. A developer, for instance, needs to get their hands dirty with STRIDE and DREAD workshops, but a general employee, they just need to understand what spoofing looks like in a phishing email they might get. If the training doesn't match the role, you're just leaving a door unlocked. So having the right frameworks and the right people is half the battle, for sure. But how do you make this a permanent part of an organization's culture? How do you actually weave threat modeling into a company's DNA so that it lasts? It really has to start at the top. When leadership puts a real budget behind it, it sends a powerful message. When cyber risk becomes a regular topic in the boardroom, it's treated like a core business function, not just some IT problem. And when you actually require a threat model to get a major project signed off, well, you hardwire that behavior right into the system. And this is so important to remember. This is not a one and done task. You don't just do it once and check a box. Technology is never static, right? Your systems will evolve, new features get added, and you can bet attackers are inventing new techniques. Threat modeling has to be a living, breathing process that you revisit over and over again.
Ultimately, the goal isn't just about checking boxes in some process. It's about a fundamental change in mindset. It's about moving security from being a feature you try to add at the end to being a fundamental quality that's embedded deep into the DNA of how you build things.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. The apps you use every day, the websites you visit, all the services you rely on, were they built with a security blueprint from day one? Or are they, and by extension, are you, just hoping for the best?